Well, one thing was clear this week. Former Secretary of State Colin Powell doesn't hold back when he writes an email. His private correspondence went public after he was hacked. Dirt the media ran with, despite the fact that it was obtained illegally. Man, you don't want to get on Colin Powell's bad side. Consider what he wrote about Hillary Clinton, someone he considers a friend. I would rather not vote for her. A 70-year-old person with a long track record, unbridled ambition, greedy, not transformational. Think he's a Trump supporter? Not so much. Calling him a national disgrace and an international pariah.
In those emails, he does not hold back.
Those snarky comments got plenty of play, as did more newsworthy ones, like Powell claiming the Clinton campaign was trying to scapegoat him for her email problems. Hillary's mafia keeps trying to suck me into it.
The emails were posted on DCLeaks.com, a website calling itself the work of American hacktivists.
In other words, all the emails were obtained illegally, leading to ethical questions over whether the mainstream media should have been complicit in making them public.
It's amazing to see that these kinds of communications became public like this.
It's called irresistible, kind of like hitting send when you think no one else is looking. Well, he's a public figure. I guess it's fair game to one extent. On the other hand, I feel very uncomfortable about this. That, first of all, no one that I know of verified the emails. They just ran with them. It was something that came, it was uncovered by this DC Links or whatever it was.
Well, the New York Times did.
Did they?
They didn't run with anything until he had verified that, yeah, that was me, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I say, I think there was an irresistible element to it, but on the other hand, part of it just felt irresponsible.
Well, here's the problem. Some of the greatest stories in journalism history were based on stolen documents, certainly the Pentagon Papers being the prime example. I felt really uncomfortable reading these emails and putting myself in Colin Powell's place. It was kind of horrifying. On the other hand, every one of them was newsworthy. I mean, what he said about Hillary Clinton, what he said about Donald Trump. This is a former Secretary of State, still a very prominent person. I thought that it easily met the newsworthiness test, and I had no problem with it, even though you kind of felt bad for Colin Powell.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was torn. I mean, about this because while the information was obtained illegally, the best stories are often, are often maybe not illegal, but people certainly workplace policies and office policies are broken to. And fed information's fed to reporters. So the best stories come that way. And I guess, perhaps newsrooms should develop policies on what to do with hacked emails, because we are encouraging more hackers to go in and find information and release them to the world. And the thing is, whether or not the media reports it, it's going to be out there on social media, on some kind of website. It's going to be out there.
One of the things I took to my takeaway from the coverage of this is that there were some complaints out there, certainly from conservatives, saying that the press, that the media, when they covered this story, they were focusing more on what he had to say about Donald Trump than what he had to say about Hillary Clinton. And, I think, well, look, I didn't look at the breakdown exactly what it was, but I found what was intriguing is that he is a Republican, and so it is pretty big news when you have someone who's Republican, going after the Republican candidate, right, as opposed to going after Hillary Clinton. Although it was well balanced.
Yes.
I mean, he was hitting on both sides. So.
Well, the idea that we need some balance here. He was calling Trump a sociopath and a dangerous pariah. He was calling Clinton unpleasant. I mean, there is a difference.
Right. Okay.
And both worthy of reporting, though.
Yes.
And look, absolutely, if any of your viewers have emails that would be deemed newsworthy and they'd like to send them over to me,
We'll take it.
I'll be happy to take a look at
Probably all do.
Report first, ask questions later.
Shame on me or anyone else.
Some reporter is going to get hacked.
Well, shame for reporting material that you haven't verified, because there's so much fake stuff floating around. One of the few things that still justifies the mainstream or conventional or non-internet swamp media is the desire to verify material before throwing it out there. So we better do that. But was it Martin Lemazny? I don't want to misquote, but somebody
Yes, it
famously
was.
once said, never write when you can speak, never speak when you can nod, never nod when you can wink. So maybe I mixed up the order. But that advice was never more relevant to people. If you write it in an email, I just wish Colin Powell had been a little more blunt and forthcoming the way he was in those emails about the intelligence about WMD in Iraq.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
that would
for
have been
sure.
helpful.